We're moving on to something a little bit more fun in probability. It is still part of probability, but it's something that is more relevant to you, to things that you've done so far, and these are voting procedures. There are 7 that we're going to go over in this PowerPoint. Majority rule, plurality voting, Borda count, Condorcet, elimination, approval, and proportional representation. So, before we get started, let's talk about what electoral systems are. And electoral system is what is used when people have to vote for something. We're most familiar with a democratic or plurality vote, where whatever gets the most votes wins, which we do in class. We usually, have a vote, you raise your hand, and whoever gets like the most votes wins. Depending on the situation, groups, systems, governments, they all use different kinds of voting procedures, and it all depends. In this PowerPoint, we're just going to talk about the voting procedures, but next we're going to talk about why certain systems or why certain governments use certain voting procedures. So we're going to start looking at some starting now. Majority rule is the first one. It's when the candidate who receives more than half the votes gets absolute majority. So it's not enough to say that they got the most votes, it's that they had to get more than half. This is something that you should be familiar with because it is our Canadian system. Right now, the Liberals are in power. This PowerPoint is being done in 2017, so the Liberals are in power and they have a majority. It means that they received more than half the votes. They got elected, but they also got half the votes. A majority rule is awesome for the winning party because whenever there's a vote in the House of Commons, it's going to pass because more than half of those people are Liberals. So if it's really advantageous. If there was a minority rule, it wouldn't be as advantageous because there's a possibility that the governing party might not have a law or a legislature passed because they don't have more than half. It could be voted no. So now that we know this, here's an example. I have candidates A, B, and C, and that's each of the number of votes that they received. Now, if you look at it, B wins. But if we're talking about majority rule, nobody wins because even though B got 28 votes, majority needs more than half of 63. Half of 63 is about 32. Nobody got that. So in this specific example, nobody wins. Plurality voting is what you're familiar with. Candidate who receives the most votes wins. Done. So in this case, the same one as the last time. If this was a plurality vote, B wins because simple enough, got the most votes. However, not majority, but B wins in plurality. The third thing that we're going to look at is Borda count. So this is when we rank the candidates in order of preference. So like I like this person, then I like this person, I like this person. We use the example of option courses. So when you're in school and you're picking option courses, you're asked to list your first, second, and third choice just in case you can't be given your first or your second choice, you have a third choice kind of thing. It's the same thing for a Borda count vote. In this case, this is based on where they are ranked, and where they are ranked gives them a certain number of points. So for example, if 2 people rank a candidate as their first choice, they'll get more points. So first choice is obviously like really, really good. You get a lot of points. How do these points work? Well, say there are X number of candidates. Say like 3 candidates. First choice will get X number of points, so 3 points. Second choice will get X minus 1, so 2 points, and so on and so forth. So again, say you have 5 candidates. First choice gets 5 points, second choice gets 4, and so on and so forth from there. And in the end, the candidate with the most points wins. Very simple. So here's an example. I have 3 different candidates, A, B, and C. There are 45 people who ranked B, C, A. So B first, C second, and A third. There are 32 candidates that rank them C, B, A. 28 CAB, and 23 people ABC. That's how they ranked it. So it just so happened that 45 people liked B, then C, then A, and so on. So now let's talk about points. Because there are 3 candidates, first choice gets 3 points because there are 3 candidates. Second choice gets 2 points. Third choice gets 1 point. Let's focus on first candidate A. Well, in the first column, candidate A gets third choice. so only 1 point, times the 45 people who put them there. So 45 times 1. In the second column, A is again third, so 1 point. 32 people put A in third here, so it's 32 times 1. In the third column, A is second, which is great, so 2 points times the 28 people who voted A there. And finally, A is first, but only 23 people voted A as first. In first place, you get 3 points times the 23 people who voted A there, so 23 times 3. And if you multiply and add them all together, you get 202 points. And you do the same thing for the other two. So candidate B, first choice, 3 points times 45. Second choice, 2 points times 32. Third choice, 1 point times 28 people who voted B there. And finally, B is second, so 2 points times 23 people's. Down here, we have 273 points for B. And finally, for candidate C, second choice here, 2 points times 45. First choice here, first choice here, and third choice here. And if we calculate it, we get 293 points. And if you see, candidate C is a clear winner. It got the most points. That is Borda count. The fourth method is called Condorcet Method. Again, we are ranking the candidates by order of preference, so how we prefer them first, second, third kind of thing. However, in this case, we're putting them in a one-on-one confrontation. So we're putting each candidate head-to-head and see who would win. So same thing here. I have my 3 candidates, A, B, C, but now we're going to put them one against the other. So A versus B, A versus C, and B versus C. We're going to start with A versus C. Now, if we look just A versus C, here C wins, here C wins because C is on top of A, here C is on top of A. So A only defeats C in this last column. So we're going to give these 23 votes to A. However, C defeats A way more times. C defeats A in the first, second, third column. So we're going to give these 45, 32, and 28 votes to C. And so already A has lost one head-to-head. So C is already in the lead here. If we put candidate A versus candidate B, so if we look here, B wins, and here A wins, A wins. So A defeats B in the third and the fourth, so 28 plus 23 votes goes to A, which is 51 votes. But B defeats A here and here, so 45 and 32 goes to B. So again, A loses, so we're left with B versus C. So who is going to win against B versus C? Well, here, B wins, C wins, C wins, B wins. So let's count up their number of points. B defeats C in the first and the third column, so 45 and 23 votes go to B. C defeats B in the second and third, so 32 votes and 28 votes go to C. Unfortunately, that's not enough for C. B wins this head-to-head competition, and that's how Condorcet wins. Just a pause as we continue. I want you to keep in mind that for every single one of these methods, it is possible to have no winner for certain methods. And that's okay. We just say no winner by blank method. So if you do Condorcet and you don't have a winner, say, or there's a tie, you say no winner by a method, there's a tie. And if that's the case, that organization would therefore have some kind of tiebreaker. Okay? But it's okay to have no winner by Condorcet or by any of the methods. The fifth method is called elimination, not to be confused with systems. We are voting the candidates again in order of preference, but first choice is only what we care about. We don't care about who ranked second, third. We care about first choice. The candidate who received the least first choice votes is eliminated, and then we redistribute his or her first choice votes to another candidate, the second choice candidate. If the candidate has a majority, he or she wins the election. If not, the procedure is repeated, and I will explain that in a second. Here's an example. We have, again, candidates A, B, and C, number of voters with 128 in total. Now, candidate A has a lot of first choice votes here. One here, so 28 and 23 go to candidate A. So candidate A has 51 first choice votes. Candidate B has only one, but that's 45 votes. So candidate B's first choice here, so 45 votes goes to B. Candidate C, however, is first choice in only the second one, which gives them only 32 votes. So because candidate C has the least first choice votes, goodbye, it's been eliminated. So what do we do with those 32 first choice votes? Well, in the column that C did get first place, we're going to give the second place person those 32 votes. So lucky B, B gets those 32 votes. So adding to the 45 that B already has. So now B has 45 plus C's 32, so 77 votes. Now B is the majority, so B wins because it has more than half the votes. If B did not have more than half the votes, we would continue and do A versus B and like eliminate from there and so on, okay? Keep in mind though that this is easy. So if B doesn't win a majority, eliminate A, who's left B. But sometimes you have like a lot of different candidates, so it could go on for a while until a candidate gets a majority. Number 6 is called approval voting. It's just very simple. Voters vote for as many candidates as they like. So here's a ballot, check off who you like. First, second, doesn't matter. Check off who you like. And the candidate who receives the most votes is the winner. So here, I have 4 candidates, A, B, C, and D. So 45 people checked off A and D. They liked A and they liked D, and 45 people were in agreement. 32 people liked B, C, and D. They checked those off. 28 people liked A, B, and C, and 23 people just liked A. They didn't like anybody but A. So the number of votes is calculated as follows. So for candidate A, here's A. So A gets 45, 28, and 23 votes. Together, 96 votes. B gets 32, because here's B, and 28, B gets 60 votes. C is here, so 32 plus 28, so again, 60 votes. And candidate D is here and here, so 45 plus 32 is 77 votes. So by approval voting, candidate A wins, very simply. Our last method is called proportional representation. The definition is the decision-making power is distributed among the possible choices in proportion to the number of votes received. So proportion is your key word. So in a region, say 10 seats for the party must be filled. Here are the election results. So there are 3 parties, A, B, and C. And by party, I'm talking about a government party, not like a party. And by seats, I mean in the House, not like a chair, literally. So in this case, A got this many votes, B got this many votes, and C got this many votes out of a total of 41,557 votes. So how does this work? The number of seats attributed to each part can be calculated as follows. So party A, 15,000 sum over the 41,000 sum times the number of seats. So technically party A is going to get 3.67 seats. So at least 3 seats, okay, because you can't really get 0.67 seats. We're going to talk about that in a second. Party B, 23 sum over 41,000 times the 10 seats, so party B proportionally will get 5 seats at least. And party C gets only 2,893 over the total times the 10 seats. They don't even get 1 seat. So what do we do when we have this like 0.7, 0.64, 0.67? What do we do in this case? We already have given 8 out of the 10 seats for sure. So 3 for sure go to party A and 5 for sure, go for party B. So 8 seats have already been filled. So we have 2 left. How do we choose who gets them? Well, we are giving them by placing these remainders in decreasing order, so from big to small. So C has the biggest remainder, 0.7. So we give it 1 seat. A has the second biggest remainder with 0.67, so we give it 1 seat. B has 0.64. Now normally we would give it 1 seat, but we've already given these 2 remaining seats to C and A, so B only sticks with 5 seats. So in the end, Party A gets 4, so 3 plus its remainder. Party B gets just 5, and Party C gets 1 seat. So just to recap, here is what we've looked at. Majority rule receives more than half the votes. Plurality voting receives the most votes, period. Borda count is when you rank the candidates and we award points based on the number of candidates that there are. We looked at Condorcet when we put these candidates head to head. Then we saw elimination, where we only cared about first choice votes, and the person who gets the lowest first choice votes eliminated, and then his or her votes gets distributed to the second place person in their category. We saw approval, so just vote for as many people as you want and calculate it based on who gets voted. And finally, what we just looked at, proportional, where we would distribute the seats in proportion to the number of votes out of the total number of votes. That is the end of voting procedures. Next, now that you know the voting procedures, we're going to talk about decision making in the context of social choices. Which procedure should be done and when?